The very first Call of Duty game I ever played was Call of Duty World at War. This game was developed by Treyarch, and instantly I fell in love. In fact, after I played that game, I went back and played Call of Duty 4, and ever since then, I've picked up every single Call of Duty and loved every single one of them. Hence why the channel you're watching here is predominantly a Call of Duty channel. Now, I was super psyched when I heard that Sledgehammer Games was going to be building a new World War II experience called, of course, Call of Duty World War II. Now, this game was cool for me for a couple of reasons. As I mentioned, it is the very first Call of Duty game to go back to World War II since Call of Duty World at War, and aside from that, it was actually the very first Call of Duty game I got to go to the development studio and actually play early. Now, the cool thing to take away from that is ever since I started playing a Call of Duty game, every single game I would play would go through the exact same cycle. And I think the easiest way to show this is by actually putting it on a graph. The one axis being the amount of fun you were having playing the game, versus the other axis, which is the amount of time you've actually played the game. So when you start and you first pick up a Call of Duty game, the amount of fun you were having is going to be at the very tippity top of that graph. And the longer you play, this will slowly taper off. This period is what I like to call the honeymoon phase. And once that graph starts to go in that downward turn, that is when the honeymoon phase is actually over. Now, this will keep going down into bottom lines, and this is the point where you can really judge a Call of Duty game. The higher this bottom line is on the graph, the better the Call of Duty game. The lower it is on the graph, the worse the Call of Duty game it is. And every single Call of Duty game I've played to date follows this cycle except for Call of Duty World War II. And in this review of Call of Duty World War II, we are going to look back over the past year of Call of Duty and discuss why this graph is different compared to every other Call of Duty game I've played before. Today, I present to you my review of Call of Duty World War II. Now, it wouldn't be fair to just take the final product that Call of Duty World War II was launched as and just look at that for the review, nor would it be fair to look at how the game was launched at the beginning, so what we're going to do is just look at the entire game as a whole, starting off with the launch of the game. Now, to start the year off, Call of Duty World War II and Sledgehammer Games were led by a man named Michael Condrey and another man named Glenn Schofield. This would change later on, and don't you worry, we'll get to that, but it was very clear that these two men had a very distinct vision for what they wanted Call of Duty World War II to be, and the first step of that was, of course, boots on the ground.
We're talking boots on the ground combat, boots on the ground experience.
Boots on the ground, man.
Boots on the ground.
We're talking boots on the ground, and the thing is I actually believe that Call of Duty as a series needed itself to go back to that boots on the ground experience. Even though we heard the developers say it about 1,000,000 times over the last year, I do think it was a good idea to do so. Now, I do think that there were some problems with that, and don't you worry, we'll get to that, but that's just the first thing that they changed this year. Another thing that they changed going into the launch of the game is their new division system. And this is one of the two areas that I truly believe created a lot of problems for the game, at least at the launch. So the division system is a new form of create a class. For the past few years before this, we knew Pick 10 as the gold standard for create a class, in which you had 10 slots that you were able to use whatever you wanted, whether that be perks, weapons, attachments, or anything in between. You could use whatever you wanted. Now, divisions was an idea that Sledgehammer worked up to recreate the system and in their words, make it better. Here's how they described the division system before the launch of the game.
We're also excited about divisions. Divisions is a fundamentally new way to approach your Call of Duty multiplayer career, and it adds to the player immersion by allowing players to enlist in a specific unit of their choice.
Now, I will say what Michael Condrey said there. Yes, it is true that you are able to enlist in a specific division, but what it doesn't do is increase player immersion. In fact, I would argue that it does the complete opposite of that, and out of anything that we are going to talk about today, divisions, in my opinion, is the biggest problem with Call of Duty World War II. Now, don't get me wrong, the division system was fixed a little bit, but initially, this was a huge problem with Call of Duty World War II. You see, when Call of Duty World War II was launched, the only way that you could use a suppressor is if you were using the airborne division. The only way you could hold your breath to get better aim with a sniper rifle was to use the mountain division. On top of this, instead of using multiple perks with different abilities, you now only got to choose one called a basic training skill. Now, some of these did have multiple abilities, but like I said, you could only choose one of them. Essentially, what the division system actually did was mute the amount of creativity a player could use and limited their style of play based off of the division they chose. What it did is decrease immersion by allowing less choices for players. You see, for the longest time, Call of Duty has been a first-person shooter, but at the same time had ideas of an RPG game. You leveled up and you could create a character and play your own way. And by adding the division system in instead of a pick 10 system or something similar, it actually suppressed the amount of creativity a player could have while playing the game. And I think that was a huge detriment to Call of Duty World War II as a game as a whole. So some of the problems that the division system caused, and it's not limited to just these problems, but this included the fact that there was no unlimited sprint, and to have faster sprint, you had to play as the airborne division. Suppressors were held behind the wall of the airborne division, and to hold your breath with a sniper rifle, you must have used the mountain division. On top of this, there was a basic training skill called primed that basically everyone had to use because it was way better than the other basic training skills. And on top of this, the aim down sights times and sprint out times of many weapons were far too slow, which caused a camping playing style throughout the entire game of Call of Duty World War II. Now, it sucks that the game was launched like this, but really, all it would take is an easy patch, and they could change these things in the game, right? Wrong. You see, Call of Duty World War II was released on November 3rd, 2017, and the problems with the divisions weren't fixed until April 6th, 2018. No, you didn't hear me wrong, 5 months later. Now, there was certain things in the multiplayer that were changed, touched, tuned between that time, but none of the biggest problems that really hindered and held back the game were fixed for 5 months. The question is, why? On February 20th, 2018, Glenn Schofield and Michael Condrey left Sledgehammer Games. Now, at this point, it is pretty much unclear as to why or how it happened, or the negotiations of what exactly went on with this, but all we really know is that as of right now, Glenn Schofield and Michael Condrey are now working for Activision. But the interesting thing about this is as soon as this actually happened, things started to change in Call of Duty World War II. The developers started to give weekly updates, give us information about things that they were planning on changing the games, and about future events that they were planning on making. And in April, Sledgehammer decided to completely overhaul the division system and fix almost all of the problems that it created in the first place. Players now had unlimited sprint, and on top of that, had faster aim down sights and sprint out speeds. They fixed the problems with certain attachments like silencers. They could now be used even if you weren't using the airborne division. Many problems that the division system created were now fixed. It took 5 months and the removing of 2 of the studio heads, but finally the game was in a pretty damn good state, if you ask me. But the problem was, in my opinion, it was too little, too late. The players that Call of Duty expected to be playing the game at this point in the year were no longer playing because of the lack of transparency and the lack of fixes to the problems in the game. And by the time Sledgehammer created the game they wanted to and the game players were asking for, it was too little, too late. People had already left. A very polished and pretty good Call of Duty game, in my opinion, was not played by many players because they had a sour taste in the mouth because of how Call of Duty World War II was released. So remember that graph that I talked about at the beginning of the video, how normally the game started at the peak amount of fun? Well, that wasn't the case with Call of Duty World War II. The peak amount of fun was actually after this patch in April that a lot of people actually didn't get to experience. So already that is one difference with the life cycle of Call of Duty World War II compared to other Call of Duty games. But now that we've looked at the launch and the big change of Call of Duty World War II, let's start looking at the finer things in the game. So weapons. Weapons are arguably the most important part of a Call of Duty game, and to be honest with you, I think Call of Duty World War II did a pretty damn good job. As far as weapon balance went in this game, it was pretty good. Of course, there was always those stand-apart weapons that do way better than the others. The one that comes to mind right away is the PPSH, another one that they added in a bit later, the Volkssturmgewehr. In any Call of Duty game, there is going to be weapons that are simply better than all the rest. To get weapon balance that well is next to impossible. But for the most part, I felt like in Call of Duty World War II, I could pick up any weapon across any map and generally speaking do pretty well with it. And if I didn't, it wouldn't be the weapon's fault, it would be my fault. Now, the one problem I did have with the weapons in this game is they simply were a little bit boring. They all kind of looked similar, brushed steel with wood. Now, I know they didn't have much to work with because it was a World War II game, and they had to at least be somewhat realistic, but for the most part, there weren't too many weapons where I went, ooh, that's fun. The only one that I can think of off by hand is the blunderbuss, a weapon that took forever to reload, but up close was an absolute powerhouse. It completely changed the way I could actually play the game. But all in all, there weren't too many weapons like that, whereas we look at a game like Black Ops 3, there were many weapons with very, very different playstyles. For example, they even launched the game with a sniper rifle that was a burst action sniper rifle. Now, whether you like the weapon or not, you have to admit it's different than anything we've ever seen before. And as far as Call of Duty World War II, it didn't really have much of that.
A bomb's been planted on our ammo supply!
So aside from a very, very loud announcer at times, in my opinion, War Mode was one of the best things added into Call of Duty World War II. It was fun, exciting, new. People liked that it didn't track your kill-death ratio. It was simply a grind and grind that objective until one team won. And I enjoyed it. But there was a massive problem with the fact that it took away from the regular multiplayer mode. At launch, the game was launched with less maps because it took the development studio extra time to work on War Mode. And then the worst part about it is that deeper into the life of the game, it seems that the War Mode was almost put on the back burner. Yeah, with DLC they added in extra game modes, but honestly, close to the end of the game, War Mode mainly felt like a second thought to Sledgehammer games. And I wish they would have put a little bit more time and a little bit more effort into it. Because I really would have loved to have seen what directions they could have taken this and even maybe taking it to the next level. And similar to this, there's another thing that they added into Call of Duty World War II, and that would be the headquarters. So the headquarters was supposed to be a social space, an area where you could find other players, do different things with them, and also an area where you could get your daily challenges, weekly challenges, and go to your mailbox. But as it turned out, when the game launched, the headquarters didn't really work. When you'd go there, you would be the only player in this area, and it took them months to actually fix. However, the two parts I did really enjoy about the headquarters mode were first of all the 1v1 pit and also the firing range. But honestly, the way the headquarters felt is it was just a gimmick to copy something like Destiny, to have a social space as opposed to trying out to make something that would actually improve the game. This was even more proven when halfway through the life cycle, everything you could do in the headquarters was simply brought into the main menus, and really you didn't even need to go to the headquarters at all anymore, except for the 1v1 pit and firing range. All in all, out of the two things, the one I preferred more was definitely the War Mode, and honestly, I spent almost as much time playing War Mode as I did the regular multiplayer, which is saying a lot. So this is probably, I have to say, the worst part of Call of Duty World War II is the maps. Now, not all of the maps are poorly designed. I do think there's some that are bad. One being USS Texas. I think it's a terribly designed map, but I don't think all of the maps are bad. I think Call of Duty World War II catches a lot of flack for a lot of its maps, but there's definitely maps in this game that I truly do enjoy. One of them is Ardan's Forest. A lot of the DLC maps I enjoy thoroughly. The problem with the maps in this game is there's simply not enough of them. Call of Duty World War II was released with 9 multiplayer maps. A normal Call of Duty game is released with between 13 and 17 multiplayer maps. So by far, this game had much less than previous Call of Duty games. Now, these were then replaced by war maps, which took, of course, longer to design. They are bigger maps. The problem is it directly took them out of multiplayer. And a big problem I think a lot of people had, especially early on with World War II, is they just got bored of playing the same 9 maps over and over again. It really showed how big of a deal it was for a Call of Duty game to have those extra 4 to 5 maps. It simply creates much more content for players to be able to play, especially in a game where you're playing the same type of game over and over again. Having those extra maps is incredibly important. Not to mention, whenever DLC was released for Call of Duty World War II, instead of having the normal 4 multiplayer maps, it was 3 multiplayer maps and a war map. So, even though they started with less maps, they didn't really make up for it the way they could have with their normal DLC. Now, the one thing that they did do, and I think this is incredible, is that they released free maps for everyone to play. They released Winter Quarantine, they released Shipment, they released Sandbox, a bunch of different maps that were free for everyone in the entire game. I think this is beautiful, and I hope going forward, Call of Duty does this much, much more in their future Call of Duty games. Now, going from one of the worst things in the game to one of the best things, something that Call of Duty World War II I don't think gets enough praise for is their events. Throughout the entire year, they basically had various month-long events that added new game modes, new maps, new weapons, new skins, pretty much completely new content every few maps. Really, this was the only thing that kept World War II alive for me throughout the entire year. This is one of the greatest things they have ever done in a Call of Duty game, and I hope they continue this in the future. Now, I did have one individual problem with their events and their release systems for their new content. And I've talked about this problem before, but I'll go over it pretty quickly again. Whenever there was a new event put into the game, Call of Duty World War II would add anywhere from 3 to 6 weapons into the game all at once with one drop. This is a lot of weapons to add all at once. You see, if you go into a grocery store and you have a look at an end cap, which is the very end of an aisle, you'll notice that they don't have every type of chips at the end of that aisle. They generally speaking have anywhere from 2 to 4 different varieties of chips for you to choose from. The reason why they do this in grocery stores is because in studies they have found if people get too many choices, instead of picking something, they just won't choose anything at all and will leave. It's called the paradox of choice, and if you have time to read up about it, it's actually pretty interesting. People are found that when they have too many options, they won't choose anything at all. So, especially in marketing, when they show things in stores, they'll show you less things so it's easier for you to choose something. I believe that this was part of, personally, my problem and other people's problems with the release schedule of some of World War II's content. When they vomited everything out all at once and were like, look at all this new stuff, people would kind of go, holy crap, that's a lot, and then just not play the game. You see, I think they would have been a lot more successful with the release of various things throughout the game if they would have added one weapon per week, one perk per week, one division per week, one map per week, instead of vomiting everything out all at once. And you may notice other popular games, for example Fortnite, do this exact same thing. Every single week at the same time, they have an update where they add 1 to 2 more things. Not 6 weapons, not 4 weapons, just a couple things every single week. Keep it regular and keep it simple, and it will keep people playing the game. Maybe I'm wrong about this one, but the paradox of choice philosophy would agree with me. Now, after talking about something positive like the events, we're going to go now and talk about another thing that I find to be a detrimental aspect of Call of Duty World War II, and that is the score streaks. First things first, the score streaks were pretty damn boring. There's no score streak that I can think of in the entire game where I go, damn, it really feels good to get that. There is no score streak that makes me feel like I am super powerful, a super soldier. Whereas in previous Call of Duty games, look at Modern Warfare 2 for example, if you get that AC-130, if you get that chopper gunner, you can count on at least 5 kills, and it makes you feel powerful and makes you feel rewarded. None of the score streaks in Call of Duty World War II make me feel that way. On top of that, they added in something new, a basic training skill called requisitions. Now, this basic training skill made it so that every score streak costed more, but you could earn it even if you were to die. Now, on paper, this may seem like a good idea, or if you're a bad player, this may seem like a good idea. It gives you a way to earn the higher score streaks even if you're dying all the time. But once again, this takes away the reward of the score streak. If I can play every single game of Call of Duty and get the highest level of score streak, all of a sudden it doesn't feel special when I do it every single time. What makes it feel special is when I have that one awesome, really good game, I earn that top score streak, and it earns me a whole bunch more kills. The requisitions perk took this reward system away. Now, they did fix it later on by making it nearly impossible in a regular game to get the highest score streaks, but if you're a great Call of Duty player, you could still do it. And personally, I believe that requisitions doesn't have a place in a Call of Duty game, maybe for different types of non-lethal score streaks, but the way they had it in World War II, to me, just completely deterred me from using score streaks whatsoever. So those two things combined, bad score streaks and a system that makes it so anyone can get them, really made me feel like the score streaks just weren't good at all in Call of Duty World War II. So the final thing I wanted to talk to you guys about before I gave you my final review of the game is the reward system in Call of Duty World War II. Now, I think a bunch of different things are grouped into this, one of which being weapon camos, challenges, the prestige system, and even the weapon variants that they put into the game. I consider this to almost be the end game of Call of Duty. Once you've mastered the game and are a good player, these are the things you grind towards that really do keep you playing. And this is an area that I really did find Call of Duty World War II lacking. Even if you look at the weapon camos in the game, yes, they were there, yes, you could grind for them and try to unlock all of the camos, and it would give you the chrome camo. And after grinding and working all that time, the camo was just kind of shiny. There really wasn't anything special about it, and I think a lot of people were disappointed by that. On top of that, in games like Black Ops 3, you could grind for hero gear and the Dark Ops challenges, which were pretty hard and you really had to grind to get them. Really, in Call of Duty World War II, there was nothing really like that. No reason to keep you grinding. Except for one thing. Weapon variants. For every single weapon in the game, there was a bunch of different variants you could earn through supply drops. Now, supply drops were kind of earned by just playing the game and completing daily and weekly challenges. And once you opened these supply drops, you could then get these various weapon variants. The problem is they were all completely random. There wasn't really a way you could grind in a specific manner, complete specific challenges, and actually try to earn all of these things. Once again, it came down to RNG and just hoping you got them through supply drops. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think the supply drop system in Call of Duty World War II was much better than previous Call of Duty games. In fact, I think it's the best one that we have seen so far. In fact, when they released new weapons and supply drops, I found that it was very easy just to get those weapons with either armory credits or through saved up supply drops. So kudos to Call of Duty World War II for that. Also, I know a lot of you are going to say that you can earn weapon variants through armory credits, but that's not all of the weapon variants, just some of them. But the whole weapon variant system, in my opinion, wasn't very rewarding. I think it would have been better if these variants were actually received through grinding the game, completing challenges, and earning them that way. And as I mentioned there previously, the other end game system that we can talk about is the daily and weekly challenges. Now, I love daily and weekly challenges. I think they're a great part of a Call of Duty game. The problem is that the daily and weekly challenges were just kind of boring. They were the same thing day in, day out, week in and week out. Even later on in the game's life cycle, some of the daily challenges were just complete 30 games, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but 30 games takes about 5 hours to complete in a Call of Duty game, which to do every single day is a little bit much for a daily challenge when some of them take 5 seconds to complete. So I think if you take that daily and weekly challenge system and simply make those challenges better, it would have worked a lot better in game. But as far as the reward system goes, the end game system, the things to grind for, the prestige system, all in all, I think it was quite lackluster in Call of Duty World War II, and I think lackluster really is a good way to describe it. Even once again, looking at that chrome camo, just kind of boring. So my final opinion on Call of Duty World War II, and this one's kind of hard, because if you ask me, I actually think in its final form, Call of Duty World War II is a really good Call of Duty game. It has sound gameplay mechanics, good weapons, and gives you a decent reason to play every single day. The problem is, the game is simply boring. Now keep in mind this is my personal opinion, and if you disagree with me, you can feel free to let me know down in the comments. But whereas the gameplay is fantastic, it's fun to play, I just find myself playing it for an hour or 2 hours and just going, alright, I'm done with this for the week. Because as I mentioned, there's nothing to grind for. There is no reason for me to try to play and grind and get better stuff. Nor is there a reason for me to try to get better. Because every single game, like I said, if I wanted to get the top score streak in the game, all I have to do is put that requisitions perk on. Where I find the game to be fun and enjoyable and an actual good Call of Duty game, I just get bored of it very, very quickly. So going back to that graph that we looked at again, in the middle of the year in around April, the game got better. But once again, just like any other video game I play, I kind of get bored of it and it tapers off. And then that's the point where I can judge the game. And every single time I would pick up Call of Duty World War II, I would have fun for an hour or two until I got bored of it. Then I would pick it up again and I would have fun again until I got bored of it. And this cycle would continue. Normally in a Call of Duty game, even at the end of its life cycle, I can sit down for 4-5 hours, even longer, and still have fun. But for some reason, with Call of Duty World War II, I would just get bored after 1 or 2. And that is my main complaint about the game. It's a good Call of Duty game. I just get bored of it very, very quickly. So if that's not a good enough description of the game, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry that this video is so damn long. I gave you the biggest breakdown of the game I possibly could from beginning to end. Hopefully you found it enjoyable. The video took me absolutely forever to edit, record, and everything in between. So if you enjoyed the video, it would be awesome if you could hit that like rating. I know it's an opinion-based video. I gave you my opinion on the game. And if you disagree with me, feel free to let me know down in the comments. Like I said, I was just giving you my opinion. So if you could hit that like button, let me know what you think of the game down in the comments. And if you're new to the channel and like what you see, you can always hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all my videos. I'm looking forward to bringing you guys a ton of Black Ops 4 and Blackout videos coming up very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. And also, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. And until next time, guys, peace out.